The first Sunday of Lent, because it invites us to reflect on temptation, what it does to us, how we struggle with it. It invites us also to reflect on trust and conversion. In Matthew's gospel, Jesus is led by the Spirit into the desert, where he faces the devil's three temptations: to satisfy immediate physical desires, to test God's protection, and to grasp power without obedience. Each temptation is subtle yet profound, echoing the choices we face daily. The choices that to rely on ourselves, to rely on appearances or on worldly success, rather than on God's plan. And so by contrasting this with the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis, we see this stark lesson. Humanity often chooses the path of immediate satisfaction, of listening to the wrong voice and separating itself from God. Yet God's response models true discipleship, right? Reliance on Scripture, obedience to the Father, and steadfastness in faith. And so Lent invites us to follow that model, not by attempting heroic feats in the desert, but by choosing God moment by moment in our ordinary lives. So I invite you, reflect on the deserts in your own life. Those moments of stress, uncertainty, or temptation where you are most vulnerable. Identify one specific temptation or habitual sin that challenges your faith. Make a concrete plan this week to respond with prayer, maybe to respond with Scripture or accountability to God's grace. Romans reminds us that through Christ's obedience, grace abounds. As it says, just as through one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so through one man's obedience the many will be made righteous. Lent is the season to live this grace actively. See, conversion is not a one-time event. It's a daily choice. Each act of fasting, each prayer, each moment of honesty with God nurtures the conversion of heart that leads us closer to Him. We confirm our choice to Him by what we do, by how we act. Right? Just consider this modern illustration, maybe a person who habitually reacts with anger or impatience at work. Lent invites them to pause, breathe, and respond with patience, seeing the encounter as an opportunity for grace. Or maybe a family member who avoids reconciliation may choose to initiate a difficult conversation in trust that God can heal broken relationships. See, these concrete acts, though difficult, though small, mirror the choices Christ made in the desert: faithfulness, trust, and obedience. Which area of your life is in most need of God's transforming grace this Lent? How will you confront it this week? Lent also challenges us to embrace spiritual practices with intention and focus rather than mere routine. That's probably why I'm asking, maybe this Lent is to break up your routine a little bit, to do a few extra things, or maybe to do things, outside of the normal routine. It helps to. That's why going on retreat is so good. It's not your everyday routine. It takes us outside of that norm, even if it means to slow down and do things a little differently, right? For just a short period of time. Because you see, prayer, fasting, and almsgiving are not ends in themselves, but they're tools for conversion. Perhaps you commit to a new habit. Maybe daily Scripture reading. Maybe going to one extra Mass during the course of the week. Maybe taking some time to go to adoration. Maybe choosing to volunteer in some capacity within the parish. The thrift store always has a need of volunteers, food pantry, all these opportunities. There's many opportunities. Or maybe to choose to intentionally spend some time in silence before God. See, these practices help us build resilience against temptation and align our hearts with God's will. So choose one Lenten practice this week. Reflect each day on how it strengthens your faith and your capacity to trust God over worldly desires. Don't let just the act go by. Reflect upon it. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I choosing to do this? How is it inviting me into deeper relationship with the Lord? Maybe even connecting that Friday fast, abstaining from meat. How is this choice, this simple choice to not eat meat on Fridays in Lent, and even outside of Lent? It never went away, right? It's still a good practice to do so outside of Lent. Why am I choosing to do this today? For what reason? How is this drawing me deeper in love with Christ? By saying no to this bodily desire, by saying no, the body's not in control. Right? See, Lent calls us to see temptation not as a failure or burden, but as an opportunity to grow closer to God. And so each time we resist a temptation, each time we respond with love or choose faithfulness over comfort, we are walking the path of conversion. And so like Christ in the desert, we learn that the Father's plan is not only wise, but life-giving. Let me leave you with two questions to reflect upon. How can you view your daily challenges as opportunities for growth and discipleship? What steps will you take today to choose Christ over immediate gratification?